on this day, we see and are reminded of the horrors of this kind of terrorism in a way that is so deeply, deeply shocking to this day, that explosion of that federal building.
Yeah, it sure is. But I have to say that, obviously, as Merrick Garland has indicated, we have a significant problem with domestic terrorism today. The difference being that 26 years ago, following the bombing in Oklahoma City, the country came together in order to fight domestic terrorism. And that included law enforcement, it included our elected leaders. Everyone rejected that kind of extremist ideology. Unfortunately, that's simply not the case today. We stand in a very different position now in 2021 than we did in 1995 when these events occurred. And it makes me fear for the future that we're going to have many more incidences like that occur again in this country.
And the country also came together politically. Bill Clinton, prior to that bombing in Oklahoma City, his polling was at a low. It was sinking. He had a sinking presidency. He failed. He was failing in his. He failed in his attempt to pass his health care bill, and the country he was not a popular president. But when he went down to Oklahoma City and he spoke there after this horrible disaster, his polling numbers went up. And I mention that only as a measure of the way the country united politically about how to respond to this.
Yeah, well, if this gives you any sort of indication, I recently testified before a congressional committee in the House, the Subcommittee on Intelligence and Counterterrorism. And I will tell you that in offering testimony about this, only Democrats would testify. We have 26 Republican attorneys general in the United States. Not one of them would go before the committee to indicate that domestic terrorism was even a problem in the United States. If that tells you anything about the difference between then and now. And so instead, we have, unfortunately, very, high-profile members of the Republican Party that seemingly are sympathetic to anti-government organizations, to white supremacy groups, to groups with extremist ideologies, and who stand together with them instead of standing against them. And I think it's going to cause us to have significant issues in terms of the battle ahead against domestic terrorism.
What is your sense of where the anti-government white supremacist movement stands after January 6th? I have over 300 arrests there. Is it a setback? Is it just, or where are we in that now?
Well, I don't know that it's a setback, and I don't know that it hasn't emboldened a lot of individuals who saw what happened on January 6th as a rallying cry, and who, now think that that same type of behavior can be mimicked all around the country, and that they'll have some success in bringing attention to their cause. And again, the problem is the response to it. If the country had completely united after January 6th and said, wow, we got a real problem here, we have to do everything we possibly can to pass the best laws we can federally to combat domestic terrorism, which is an issue. We don't have the right laws in place, and to put the kind of funding necessary towards combating domestic terrorism. But instead, we haven't seen that. And instead, in fact, in my own state, individuals who voted who are members of the Republican Party to impeach Donald Trump, there's calls every day to censor them instead of to applaud them.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.